With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown.
And I am Yolana Weeks.
Our top stories. St. Kitts and Nevis extends warm congratulations to Her Excellency Laura Gill on historic appointment as OAS Assistant Secretary General. Reward offered as police reissue wanted notice for Philip Jones in murder investigation.
The St. Kitts Nevis Fire and Rescue Services hosts exciting summer camp for children.
Water supply challenges in St. Kitts amid climate change and drought. First Gentleman of Trinidad and Tobago says the Panyard model could help to reduce crime in the nation. Internationally, at least 19 dead after Air Force jet crashes into Bangladesh school. Now, the details. In a special meeting of the Organization of American States OAS Permanent Council held on July 14, 2025, the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis formally recognized and celebrated the historic assumption of office by Her Excellency Laura Gill as the Assistant Secretary General of the OAS. The event marked a significant milestone not only for the organization, but also for gender representation within hemispheric governance. Ambassador Jacinth Henry Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis's distinguished permanent representative to the OAS and ambassador to the United States, delivered a heartfelt message on behalf of the government and people of the Federation. She extended warm congratulations to Ambassador Gill while highlighting the broader implications of her appointment.
Distinguished Chair, congratulations on your assumption of the presidency of this Council. Excellencies, delegations, Secretary General Ramdin, it is both a privilege and a distinct pleasure on behalf of the government and the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to reiterate congratulations and words of welcome to you, Ambassador Laura Gill, on your historic assumption of the role of Assistant Secretary General of the Organization of American States, the first female to shoulder this awesome responsibility.
She noted that this appointment is
not only a proud moment for the organization, but a powerful affirmation of the progress we continue to make in the areas of gender equity, leadership, and representation at the highest levels of hemispheric governance.
The ambassador acknowledged that Assistant Secretary General Gill steps into her role at a critical juncture where
the values of multilateralism, diplomacy, and principled leadership are more vital than ever.
In expressing confidence in Ambassador Gill's capabilities, Ambassador Henry Martin said,
"We are confident that your experience, vision, and stoic resolve will serve this institution and indeed all the peoples of the Americas with distinction and renewed purpose."
Ambassador Henry Martin emphasized that the Federation seeks a close partnership with the Assistant Secretary General and the newly elected Secretary General in advancing the core values of the OAS.
St. Kitts and Nevis looks forward to working closely with you as you embark on this journey and throughout your tenure, in full partnership with the newly elected Secretary General, to advance the core values of the OAS while ensuring that no member, however small, is left behind.
The ambassador extended full support to Ambassador Gill in her new capacity, wishing her both impact and inspiration in the tenure ahead, adding a touch of humor and personal insight.
If I may be allowed a slightly light-hearted note, having served in the office of the Assistant Secretary General myself, I hope that you have perfected the fine art of juggling, since you will happily, I'm sure, be wielding oversight of the institutional vision for constant improvement and efficiency, employing the full range of your diplomatic skills to epitomize diplomacy in action, confronting cross-cutting global and hemispheric challenges, and fielding the occasional, unsolicited, but of course well-meaning advice from all of us. It comes with the territory.
Ambassador Laura Gill's ascension as the first female Assistant Secretary General of the OAS symbolizes a notable advance in gender representation and leadership within the organization, reinforcing a commitment to multilateral cooperation across the Americas.
Congratulations once again, Madam Assistant Secretary General. St. Kitts and Nevis wishes you every success in your new role.
The special meeting underscored the ongoing importance of collaboration and principled governance amidst a complex international landscape. The Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force has reissued a wanted notice for Philip Jones, 41, who remains sought for questioning in an ongoing murder investigation. Jones is described as being 6 feet tall with black hair and brown eyes. His last known address was in Carti's Pash Tabernacle, but his current whereabouts are still unknown. Police have issued a stern warning that Philip Jones may be armed and dangerous, urging the public not to approach him under any circumstances. Authorities emphasize that it is illegal to harbor, aid, or abet any person wanted by law enforcement and cautioned that anyone assisting Jones risks serious legal consequences. Jones has been on the police radar since August 2024, when the initial wanted notice was issued. Since then, the police force has made his identity public, urging citizens to come forward with any information that could aid in his apprehension. However, according to recent official statements, no one has yet stepped forward. In a public appeal, the police force expressed frustration at the community's silence. To break this silence and intensify the search, the police have announced a reward of up to $10,000 for information that leads directly to the arrest of Philip Jones, encouraging those with knowledge of Jones's location to come forward without fear. Members of the public who possess any information about Philip Jones's whereabouts are encouraged to contact the Violent Crimes Unit at 662-3468 or the Crime Stoppers hotline at 707. This renewed call for public assistance underscores the critical role of community cooperation in ongoing investigations and highlights the collective responsibility to prevent serious crimes from perpetuating in St. Kitts and Nevis.
The St. Kitts and Nevis Fire and Rescue Services launched a 2-week-long summer camp designed especially for children, offering a unique blend of education, fun, and hands-on experience. The first week was catered to the children in Nevis, while the second week was for children in St. Kitts. 92 children attended the Nevis leg of the camp, while 117 attended the St. Kitts leg. The Fire Summer Camp targeted children ages 5 to 12, giving them an inside look at the daily duties of firefighters, while teaching essential safety skills, including water safety, fire safety, first aid, CPR, and drug and crime prevention. The lessons were age appropriate and were often reinforced with discussions or question and answer. These activities were designed not just to entertain, but to teach valuable lessons such as teamwork, leadership skills, and being a civic-minded citizen. With a focus on both learning and enjoyment, the camp has quickly become a community favorite during the summer. To show appreciation to the attendees and the community, both camps ended with a march. The campers, alongside firefighters, paraded through the streets of Charlestown and Bastille with placards in hand, displaying important messages about safety. The year 2025 marked the 20th edition of the Fire Summer Safety Camp's hosting, which coincides with the 25th anniversary of the St. Kitts and Nevis Fire and Rescue Services as an independent organization. Deputy Chief Fire Officer Timothy Martin spoke of the St. Kitts and Nevis Fire and Rescue Services' commitment to safety and community awareness. He told WINN FM, quote, "At the Fire and Rescue Services, we believe that safety is not just the job of firefighters and first responders. It starts with each and every one of us, whether it's knowing how to respond in an emergency, practicing fire drills at home, or understanding the dangers of sea. Being prepared can save lives," unquote. While the activities at the Fire Summer Safety Camp tend to be exciting, Martin said these fun and interactive lessons can one day make a difference.
The Water Department continues to face significant challenges in maintaining water supply across St. Kitts due to reduced rainfall, prolonged dry spells, and the increasing impact of climate change. These factors have necessitated limitations and rationing in water distribution to ensure sustainable use of scarce resources. During the July 16th edition of In Focus, water engineer Cromwell Williams sounded an urgent warning about the need for careful management of the island's groundwater resources. He explained the delicate balance required to extract water from wells, noting the risks of overpumping and the serious consequences of saltwater infiltration.
More than 2/3 of our water comes from wells, groundwater. Now, in extracting that groundwater, it's a very delicate balance because the groundwater floats on seawater or brackish water. And so every time we drill a well, there's only so much we can extract from that particular well. If you overpump it, you will pull in seawater. And so because of that, we have to carefully measure what is the safe maximum yield. So that basically is it in a nutshell, in that we have to always remember that there is a limit to how much water we can pump from the ground so that we don't over abstract the freshwater lens and as a consequence cause salt water to infiltrate. So we call that saltwater infiltration. So we have to avoid that at all costs, because if that happens, it will take decades and decades and decades to be rectified.
Right, that's the point I actually was going to ask you about. What are the consequences of that?
Right,
You just lose the whole well.
Very severe. Yes, so, and we're proud that in St. Kitts we have wells that we have been pumping now for 50 years, over 50 years. And that is a remarkable achievement. It shows that we have been doing our groundwater extraction on a sustainable basis.
Williams emphasized the importance of sustainable practices in protecting St. Kitts' freshwater reserves, highlighting the decades-long success in managing groundwater without causing permanent damage. Addressing concerns about water service interruptions, Williams clarified that the shortage is not attributed to inadequate storage facilities. Rather, the crux of the issue lies in insufficient supply due to natural constraints.
Well, we have to increase water storage facilities capacity. We've always been doing that. It's nothing new. However, all we've been saying to the public is that it's a matter of sequencing which one comes first. If right now we don't have enough water to provide 24-hour service, that is not because we don't have enough storage capacity. That is simply because we do not have enough supply. The wells and the spring sources in the mountains, they just aren't enough right now to meet the demand. So when we look at the overall demand of St. Kitts, it's about at least 6 million gallons per day. When we look at what we can supply, based on all the wells and all the surface sources, it's only about 5 million gallons. So we have a deficit of at least 1 million gallons per day. Now, what we're saying is the government must first spend its money on finding new sources, additional sources, and hence that is desalination, that is constructing desalination plants, and that is drilling additional wells. Once we have that additional water, of course we know we have to increase the storage, but it makes no sense to first build more storage when you have no water to put in the storage anyway. Most of the tanks are empty. That is why we have to shut down at nights, so that the tanks can get a chance to replenish overnight.
The government has thus been urged to prioritize investment in desalination technology and expanding groundwater exploration to bridge the significant supply gap. Only with augmented water resources can increased storage capacity be effectively utilized to meet the growing demand. As climate change continues to alter rainfall patterns and stress limited water resources, these strategic steps are vital to safeguarding St. Kitts' water security for the future. Meanwhile, residents in affected areas are asked to conserve water as the Water Services Department implements necessary rationing to preserve the island's precious freshwater lens. In regional news,
a regional geothermal rig could soon power the Eastern Caribbean's energy future. OECS leaders wrap a clean energy study tour in Guadeloupe. Education heads meet to address strategy and challenges across OECS member states, and a call for public comments on new citizenship by investment legislation. The Organization of Eastern Caribbean States Commission is ramping up efforts to boost renewable energy and curb fossil fuel dependence with a region-wide geothermal development. This week, the OECS Commission commissioned a feasibility study led by Italy's ELC Electroconsult into the acquisition and shared use of a geothermal drilling rig among 6 OECS member states: Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Montserrat. The goal, slash costs tied to importing drilling rigs and mobilizing heavy equipment across countries while fast-tracking exploration and production. With Dominica's own 10-megawatt geothermal plant expected to be up and running by January 2026, and St. Kitts and Nevis, Grenada and St. Lucia lining up exploration projects, a shared rig could be transformational. Funded by CDB, IDB, EU CIF and the Green Climate Fund, the GeoBuild program will also bolster regional technical capacity, institutional structures, and regulatory frameworks for geothermal energy. Critically, this initiative promises strategic gains, more stable electricity prices, reduced fuel imports, lower emissions, fresh green job opportunities, and potential new industries like thermal tourism and agriculture. Dr. Ernie Stapleton, OECS's GeoBuild manager, says the study will present cost-benefit analysis, ownership models, and operational plans to the Council of Energy Ministers. The ultimate aim? Empower OECS member states with a sustainable drill rig solution to harness clean baseload energy. In our next story, clean energy momentum continues, with an OECS delegation returning from a technical study tour in Guadeloupe. The OECS GeoBuild team completed a two-day tour and workshop in Guadeloupe on June 23rd to the 24th, visiting the Bouillante geothermal plant and engaging with operators, regulators, and community leaders. Since its first operation in 1986, Bouillante now supplies 6 to 7% of local electricity and is now expanding toward 20 megawatts by 2026. Workshop sessions focused on regulatory frameworks, environmental safeguards, and community engagement aimed at accelerating geothermal projects in Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Dominica. The study tour showcased how Guadeloupe's success can inspire regional initiatives like Dominica's 10-megawatt plant and Grenada's upcoming exploration in 2026. Now, turning to education in our third story, regional leaders met in May to chart progress and solutions for OECS learning goals. Permanent secretaries, education planners, and development partners, including UNICEF and the World Bank, joined in a high-level meeting focused on implementing the OECS education sector strategy. Key areas addressed included equitable access to learning, digital curriculum rollout, teacher development via the OECS MyPD platform, and tackling school violence and learner well-being. The meeting concluded with renewed commitments to strengthen institutional support and better align education systems with the region's development needs. And finally, the public is being called on to weigh in on proposed legislation to strengthen governance of citizenship by investment programs in the Eastern Caribbean. A draft law to establish the Eastern Caribbean Citizenship by Investment Regulatory Authority was made available for public comment until July 16th. The ECCB-led legislation follows extensive stakeholder consultations and aims to create uniform regulatory standards for the multi-jurisdictional industry.
First Gentleman of Trinidad and Tobago says the Panyard model could help to reduce crime in the nation. Triple T Live Online reports.
First Gentleman of Trinidad and Tobago, Kerwin Garcia, SC, says the Panyard model could help to reduce crime in the nation. He was speaking at the closing ceremony of the second edition of the President's Pan Camp on Friday afternoon. Here's the story with Terry Ann Campbell-Brown.
These young people spent about 12 hours learning to play Freetown Collective's Take Me Home on this country's national instrument. But their week-long participation in the President's 2025 Pan Camp was more than just about the musical experience. A fact that President Christine Kangaloo's husband, First Gentleman Kerwin Garcia SC, noted as he addressed the closing ceremony for the camp.
This morning, Trinidad and Tobago awoke to the news of yet another state of emergency having been declared in respect of crime. Nobody is saying that the solution to crime lies exclusively in our country's panyards. But what does it hurt to open ourselves to the possibility that a model of positive social and cultural interaction, such as that presented by the panyard, just might also be a valuable initiative to assist the country's efforts in that regard.
Minister of Education, Dr. Michael Dowlath, applauded the President and her husband for championing the initiative.
Through this musical experience, our participants will develop valuable skills and values, including what our Archbishop spoke about, social responsibility, being your brothers and sisters' keeper. Teamwork is the essence of collaboration, communication, discipline, and especially resilience.
The minister was referring to Archbishop Jason Gordon, who made an important point to the campers.
The steel pan works along an African philosophy called Ubuntu. Because I am, because we are. The music you play is only as good as the person next to you and what they are playing. And if they don't get it right, you don't get it right. And we don't get it right.
The 25 members of the camp comprised of the TNT Cadet Force, the Girls Guides Association of TNT, the Cotton Tree Foundation, the Scout Association of TNT, and from several police youth clubs. Terry Ann Brown Campbell, TTT News.
And the second edition of the President Christine Kangalou's Pan Camp took 25 young people from various backgrounds and brought them together to learn to play the national instrument and boost their self-confidence. One of the participants, Ethan Timothy, shared his experience of the camp.
We learn more than just a song and techniques. We learn discipline, teamwork, and the power of expression. We all made new friends connected to music and discovered that when we come together, we can create something truly beautiful.
While a member of the camp's technical committee, Michelle Huggins-Watts, shared some additional details about the 2025 President's Pan Camp.
Similar to the inaugural camp of 2024, while a major focus of the camp was to have our campers experience the joy of playing the pan and learning to play a song on the instrument, the camp also provided sessions that targeted character-building principles and practices.
We now bring you these international reports.
Bangladesh, where at least 19 people have been killed when an Air Force training jet lost control and crashed into a school compound in Dhaka. Many of the dead are children. A further 100 people are injured, and there's been video circulating of the incident in the northern suburb of Uttara, where you can see a huge fire, thick plumes of smoke as well of the aftermath and the rescue effort that started to take place soon after it happened. The military confirming that one of its training planes did indeed crash. Our reporter Shanawaz Rocky is at the scene for us in Dhaka.
So the building where the plane has crashed is 100 meters away from here. Nearly 1 o'clock the plane has crashed, and that time most of the students were in the classroom. And I have spoken to one of the eyewitnesses who told me the time when the plane has crashed. That time one of his friends has died and he was in front of him. And what he has saw that hundreds of the primary students were inside the classroom and 10 to 15 guardians were waiting outside, and the plane collapsed on top of them. So he presumed that most of them have died, but the number is not disclosed yet. And there are also a residential building where many students used to live, so their situation is also unknown. The parents and guardians are waiting outside anxiously and waiting. What we have seen at this moment, the ambulance have come in and going out with lots of casualties. There are few hospitals around the sites and they also admitted there. The security forces, Army, Navy and Air Forces along with the fire service and other security forces has started the rescue operations. So the site is totally cordoned, people cannot get inside. So the parents and the guardians are waiting outside to know what's happened to their loved one.
Really awful scene there with the parents and families down at the school trying to figure out what's happened and whether or not their children are injured or have survived this. Let's take you to our correspondent Yita Lamai, who joins us from Mumbai monitoring events. We're keeping across what's happening in Dhaka on the ground, but so many questions here, Yogita. What is the government and the Air Force saying about what happened?
Lucy, we've now heard from a spokesperson for Bangladesh's military services, and they've confirmed that this was a plane, this was a jet from Bangladesh's Air Force. They say it was on a training mission. They've said that it suffered mechanical failure shortly after takeoff. Details of that they will give once an investigation is carried out. They say that the pilot in the aircraft did try to steer the aircraft away to a less densely populated area, but wasn't able to do so in time. And it hit a 2-story building in that school campus. They've also said that they've had helicopters in operation there trying to take the injured to hospitals as quickly as possible. We've also heard from the chief of Bangladesh's fire department, who says that the building that was hit, it was a 2-story building. It housed classrooms for 2nd and 4th grade students. And he says that lessons had ended, but that students were still there, teachers were still there, and some parents or people who'd come to pick up their kids were also still there. We've also heard from eyewitnesses, one of them saying that they were standing near the gate of the school when they heard this loud explosion, and when they looked, they only saw fire and smoke. Their children had managed to come out, so the parent took the children and rushed away as fast as possible. But the visuals we are seeing are of firefighters struggling to try to control that blaze. They've been using big hoses, shooting jets of water at the blaze, and of course rescue operations still ongoing.
So if they're ongoing, does that mean that we don't know whether everyone has been accounted for yet or not? Are there still potentially parents there who don't know what's happened to their children?
Well, so we've got some numbers from the Bangladesh government, and at the moment it's 19 dead and more than 160 injured. We do not know yet if that is the total that accounts for all of the people who were there. If lessons had just ended, there would have been people, there would have been parents as well who'd come to pick their kids up. So these are details which will emerge. We've seen here in India when we had that air crash in Ahmedabad, especially, when there's been an explosion and a fire, how much time it actually takes to not just know what the death toll is, especially of the people on the ground, but even to identify the bodies of those dead. If they're in a condition where they cannot be identified by looking at them, then there will have to be forensic and DNA tests conducted. We have heard from the leader of Bangladesh's interim government, Muhammad Yunus, who's announced a day of national mourning on Tuesday.
Through tears and amidst the blackened wreckage of her family apartment, Lilia is counting her blessings. It's her son's home, and he was here when the Russian drone hit in the middle of the night. Somehow, despite the flames, he got out.
He says there were 3 explosions nearby, the building shook. Then the 4th hit here. Everything was instantly on fire. He tries to run, but couldn't open the door. The door from the neighboring apartment had collapsed and blocked his. He thought about jumping from the balcony, but the flames were everywhere. He says he doesn't even know where he found the strength to shove the debris away, squeeze through and get out.
After a week's pause, Russia has resumed its intense campaign of hitting Ukrainian cities with huge barrages of drones and missiles, and it's scaling up. It's very obvious why Kievans now take these new massive drone strikes very seriously indeed. There's a lot less complacency these days about going to the shelters than there was just a few months ago. Lilia's son's flat is just next door, and this one took the direct hit. If anyone had been here, they wouldn't have stood a chance. And danger is present even in the shelters. Lukyanivska metro station was hit last night too. Smoke filled the halls underground where people were hiding. It points to air defences struggling to cope. Expensive surface-to-air systems like the Patriot are saved for missiles, so shooting down the drones is the job of gunnery crews like this one. They're overworked, undermanned, and Russian drones now fly faster and higher.
With the weapons we have, it's difficult to work with the tactics the enemy is using now. To do that, we need modernization or rearmament.
Robin's team deal constantly with the guilt of letting anything slip through.
When we see it in the news, we see how many people were killed, how many were injured. It's very painful. The main task is to prevent this, but unfortunately, we face it.
Ukraine is launching deep strike drones at Russia too, but nothing on the scale that it endures. Ukraine's military says Russia will soon be able to launch 1,000 drones in a night. Germany says 2,000. The 426 Ukraine faced this past night was challenge enough. Rory Challens, Al Jazeera, Kiev.
What death by forced starvation looks like. He's a skeleton. He died of starvation.
Mohammad al-Sawafri is said to have not eaten in a month. He was brought to a hospital alive, only to be pronounced dead minutes later.
I haven't eaten anything for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. There's no food or water. There's no income. There's nothing. Nothing. How would he or we survive? This is what we have come to. We're helpless.
His family says Israel's blockade has led to this, and the US and Israel-backed notorious Gaza Humanitarian Foundation sites have become killing zones for anyone seeking food.
The aid points have turned into death traps. The Israelis open fire on all those seeking aid. Any person who goes to get aid comes back a dead body, injured or empty-handed. We are surrounded by death from all sides.
Aid has been politicized, it has been weaponized, no humanitarian considerations. No man with a human conscience would accept Palestinians in the Gaza Strip be killed in this manner. What is happening in Gaza is an unforgivable crime.
Israel has also blocked infant formula into Gaza. In the past week, 2 babies have died of starvation. Gaza's health ministry has warned that an unprecedented number of starving citizens are arriving for treatment. But barely functioning hospitals are already overwhelmed and can hardly treat the injured, let alone those suffering from malnutrition. Amnesty International says Israel has deliberately imposed conditions of life calculated to inflict genocide against Palestinians. At this soup kitchen, people gather to get their first meal in days. They've risked their lives to find something to eat.
We are dying of hunger and we cannot find food or drink, not even water. We drink from the sea and we cannot find food at all.
We have lived through the first and second uprisings, the wars of 2008, 2009, and 2021. Honestly, we've never experienced such famine. We are truly fed up. Enough is enough.
The United Nations is warning mass food deprivation is being normalized in Gaza. That new normal created by Israel means with each passing day, more and more people will starve to death. Kulsum Sharif, Al Jazeera.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were: St. Kitts and Nevis extends warm congratulations to Her Excellency Laura Gill on historic appointment as OAS Assistant Secretary General. Reward offered as police reissue wanted notice for Philip Jones in murder investigation.
The St. Kitts Nevis Fire and Rescue Services hosts exciting summer camp for children.
Water supply challenges in St. Kitts amid climate change and drought. First Gentleman of Trinidad and Tobago says the Panyard model could help to reduce crime in the nation. Internationally, at least 19 dead after Air Force jet crashes into Bangladesh school. Thank you for listening.